And we're live. Let me go live on Instagram. Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Nelson from Central Florida. I'm right in Orlando today, attending the Champions for Health. Used to be called Keto Orlando Summit. And Dr. Kills will be later here today or tomorrow. He speaks tomorrow, among other things. And I am here with my wife with some of the merchandise downstairs. So I left her by herself and I came up to the room to talk to Eric. Yesterday, because we were traveling to here, 3 o'clock came and we were on the road still. So we rescheduled for today, and Eric was kind enough to let us do that.
I got bumped. You bumped me.
That's okay. That is the technical term on TV, right?
Yeah, it's all good, man.
Yeah. So if you have any questions, put them in the chat, QQQ, and we're gonna talk to Eric about his story of healing. And if you have any questions, put them in the chat. And so this is Eric Reynolds at Keto 50. That, by the way, that's your channel, right? Your YouTube channel?
Yeah, at Keto 50.
Keto 50. Okay. So go over when you have a chance and subscribe. Go ahead and tell us, Eric, why are we talking to you? What happened to you? What's happening before and after you found some healing?
Yeah, let's start with Keto 50 first of all. How did I get that name, right?
Yeah. Go ahead.
It started because at my police department, when I started losing weight, when I discovered keto, they started asking questions, and word started getting around. Hey, you got to talk to Keto, and then it became go talk to Keto 50, because they always call us 50 in the hood, right? 50 trolls down or something like that. So it just became a term of endearment. Hey, go talk to Keto 50 over there, and he'll set you straight and help you lose weight, right? So, I helped a couple cops lose 50 pounds, and next thing you know, I started working with dispatch records, other departments, and started a little group page, started helping other first responders, and retired, and then obviously COVID hit, and I went ahead and got my health coaching certificates and sports nutrition's license from National Association of Sports Nutrition with Doug Reynolds and all those guys, and started to just coach guys, take a deeper dive in my own metabolic health. But what got me there was my own misfortune of being a fat kid in the 80s. I grew up eating Kellogg cereal, school lunches, and after school programs. My mom was a single mom as a police officer in Florida and down in Miami. So we weren't living on a farm, so it was fill up the freezer with whatever Winn-Dixie special super brand price you could get, 10 for $1, right? Or whatever it was. And I gobbled that stuff down, dude, all while I played football. And next thing you know, about 30 years old, and I'm about 50 pounds overweight trying to become a cop, but I still was able to. I was always in still pretty good shape, and was a fat cop for the next freaking 15 years of my career. I had some trauma along the way, like most people do in their lives. I had it as a first responder, and that led to a lot of hypervigilance, a lot of stress, a lot of drinking, a lot of eating the wrong foods to cope with what was going on with my brain and my body. And, I got kind of sick there as a cop, and luckily I played basketball with a guy that mentioned keto to me. I didn't know what the heck it was, man. And he sent me to ketogenic.com. And I took a deep dive in it, man. And I started reading up all about it, and opened my eyes. So, I can continue. I'll talk this whole show.
Go ahead.
So anyways, you start losing weight when you start understanding, protein and the fats and all that stuff. And I've been told about carbohydrates being an athlete, right? So I ate that way for most of my life. And once I started to cut back on the carbohydrates, I started losing a little bit of weight here or there, 5 pounds a week, 20 pounds over a month. And I'm like, heck, at this rate, I'll be 200 pounds in freaking 2 months, right? But your body catches on, you kind of hit a plateau, and you start to really look at what you're actually eating. I was reading more labels, really looking at the different fake sugars and the fake, just some of the other ingredients they were putting in the food. And I started realizing, man, even the keto stuff is filled with garbage, right? So I really just went to more of an animal-based diet in 2019. I pretty much went more carnivore just by accident. I was a keto carnivore already. I was eating a lot of meat, much more than that pound they were saying to put in the recipe. I would put 2 pounds, 3 pounds in there. I was just freaking eating it. And I felt great, man. But once I cut the BS out of it, I started shredding again. I started just getting another 25 pounds came off. And I found myself at 175 pounds at 50 years old. And I'd never seen that since 8th grade. It's been 30 years since I saw that guy, 35 years more like it. So it's pretty wild, man.
Obviously, the weight loss is one of the things that people come into carnivore for because they're looking to lose weight. But sometimes they realize a lot of other benefits that come along. Was there anything else besides the weight loss that you saw an improvement in other areas?
Well, in 2012, it was one of the big events of my career. I was in a car chase with a bank robber. He crashed, he opened his door, and he shot me. We exchanged gunfire multiple times. I got hit through the foot, and another officer and I ended up killing that guy at that scene. So what ended up happening was a lot more PTSD and a lot more trying to handle it. Like in the first responder culture, there's not like a lot of, there is. You don't have a lot of resources there for you. So alcohol is pretty much the only accepted thing we could ever do, right? So you start trying to drink your way and drink yourself out of it, right? And it doesn't work out like that. So by changing the diet, I kept drinking because I couldn't let go of that crutch at that point. I wasn't ready to. I still had so many other things I was trying to work out in my own life, but getting off the sugars and making some switches, like, from beer to vodka with sparkling water instead of mixing it with the sugary sodas and all that stuff. I was still reducing my intake of, the carbohydrates and some of the other sugars. And with that, I noticed the inflammation changing in my body, and also was the inflammation in my brain and some of the way I was thinking every day, the thing some of the irritability I was suffering from my previous incident. And, it really kind of maybe dance with it a little better rather than it lead me around some of that stress, so I was able to manage it. I was able to really take a deeper look at myself and figure out what's working for me. Hey, what's up, Sandy? And figure out, what I got to do personally for myself, because we all have a different method, a different path that sometimes works. I need life to slow down. I need my central nervous system to calm down, and calming the inflammation in my body from controlling what I was putting in it was probably the biggest factor that ever happened. I was able to handle it again.
And you also mentioned that from the very beginning, people will look to you or for you when they were, referring, go and talk to Keto there. But you have continued to do that even after retiring from police work. What do you do? How do you do that? And
so my crazy wife was into this tiny house stuff. You ever see these crazy people that want to live in a tiny house? And we would watch TV shows, and next thing you know, she's talking about actually maybe doing it. Like, why don't we just, tow our house around the country? And I'm like, what? I didn't work the American dream to die of a heart attack later on to just go driving around in an RV. So we ended up renting an RV. We tried it out. I found a brother through a DNA whole escapade that was a cop, and he'd been camping, so he got me into camping. And then we sold our house in 2019, the same time I retired, and we hit the road to just travel the country. And Who would have thought that COVID would show up and lock this whole country down while we're traveling around, going park to park, homeschooling our kids, meeting first responders, meeting retired people, meeting a whole bunch of metabolically sick people. So within that, I start coaching people. I start meeting people outside of just my own little police network. You know, I'm meeting nurses, I'm meeting firemen, I'm meeting professionals that were just retired and, you know, hiking in the woods, right? So it's pretty cool. So during that, I ended up starting a nonprofit called Cops and Campers, which we try to introduce this metabolic health world to my guys. You know, the troops out there, whether you're a military or you're a first responder, you need help. You need access to the people that are going to push you the right direction to help you with not only your mind, body, and soul, right? And I found that this community, the carnivore, the keto, it can be even the paleo, you know, those people are really understanding what it does by changing your diet and the mental strength that comes from it, you know. And so I do these events. I've had about 9 of them in 4 years. And it's been awesome, man. A lot of guys are jumping on board, you know, 2 or 3 at a time, you know. We're contagious, a little bit at a time, you know, and then next thing you know, you have a whole herd of us that have lost all this weight and are spreading the message, man. So that's what we do. We travel the country in an RV like snake oil salesmen, but we're really selling meat and freaking bacon, you know.
So you recently had one this past month already, because we're in August today, 7 months of the year down. You just had one. Do you always do it in the same place? Because you were in New York this time, right?
Yeah, what happened was back in 2021, campground tried to kick me out of the campground for my police flag. And any of you guys want to look up the history of a police flag, I have an article on it on my YouTube channel. They want to see the whole history of it, so they're not propaganda by what, you know, the mainstream media has told you. Okay, so a campground tried to kick me out for having my police flag, and they had Canadian flags, they had all these other flags up. So I got suspended from a camping group, and all these different campgrounds throughout upstate New York invited my family and I and my flag to their campground to stay for the whole time we were suspended. So what ended up happening, I started meeting first responders at these campgrounds, and then the idea was brought up to do this event somewhere in New York, you know, and we ended up picking Spruce Row in Ithaca, New York. And that was the first campground that reached out to us to host an event. And now we've done them 4 years in a row. Next year is year 5. I mean, we have campfires, we got yoga, we got swimming, we got, you know, cornhole tournaments, we got Dr. Kiltz talking. I got other guys that come up and talk, and we got, you know, we got a live band Saturday night, you know, that just kicks it off with everyone just having a good time. And it's a safe place for guys to meet each other and kind of vent. And, you know, it's our own community, and we all eat steak in the meantime. I mean, it's beautiful, you know.
Yeah, Dr. Kiltz just spoke at your event a few weeks ago as well, right?
Yeah, he comes in hard charger, boy. Those vegans can't take him. But then they understand what he's doing, man. They scare the heck out of him, right? Because he comes out like, they're like, well, what about this? He's like, poison. You know, what about this? Poison. And they're like, oh my God, everything I'm eating is poison. But, you know, he calms them down, and, you know, he explains it, you know, very easy. And these people, they're coming around. It just takes a little bit, you know. It's like trying to tell someone that, you know, that something way they believe their whole life just to change overnight. It's not going to happen that fast. It didn't happen with me that fast, you know.
So many of the people you have helped, you know, the first responders, is anxiety, PTSD, depression, something that you have seen them improve with a ketogenic or carnivore diet?
Yeah, I mean, let's face it. You know what kills more cops every year? Themselves. We kill each other with our own guns more than we get killed in line of duty. You know, and it's, damn, sorry. All right. So being able to help guys, at least, you know, come down and calm down has been such a freaking motivator for me. You know, I get calls all the time. I get emails. I get messages. Sorry, I didn't come. I've been playing on this part. So, I mean, suicide, it's a mental illness, man. It's serious. It's going all over this country. It's just not first responders. You know, it's your dentist, it's your freaking teachers, it's your neighbor, it's your freaking friend's kid. You know, there's some crisis going on and it's affecting everybody. You know, what do you think first responders are? We're just a sample of the population. We get heart disease, we get Alzheimer's, we have freaking stress, we get divorce, we get freaking everything that the regular person goes through, we have too, you know? So we're a reflection of society and we're sick, just like society is, you know? And, you know, I don't know if it's not being outside. I mean, 90% of us don't spend any time outside. I mean, we're not getting any vitamin D. We're not getting our hormone levels, you know, leveled. You know, we're either too much caffeine or too much sugar or too much this and too much stress about living that little hamster wheel of a life, trying to pay for the bills. And, you know, the biggest thing I ever did was pull my kids out of school and spend time with my kids. That has been not only a lifesaver for me, but able to be a role model for them and to teach them about nutrition and teach them how important the outdoors is and being part of a community that's supportive and not being part of some, like, you're only worth, you know, what the latest fashion is, or, you know, all that BS that's not important in life, you know. And sorry, I got it under control, man. I get a little passionate there sometimes. So, hey, what's up, Papa? Who's Papa?
It's all good. So you're still from place to place in an RV?
Yeah, we settled shop here in Alabama for the last few months because the hurricanes chased us out of Florida last year. When you live at an RV, you can't really board up the RV. You know, you're going to kind of go where the wind pushes you. So we had to get out of there. So we're heading back next week. We'll be down in Florida again, and then we'll be bouncing around at Hack Your Health. I'll be going up to Low Carb for Better Health up there in Dixon, Tennessee, Amanda's event. And you know, I just try to go to as many of these events as possible. And then I try to go to the police events and say, hey, man, you got to come see my guys. We got to get you guys to the FOP one in Las Vegas. Open up a booth there, man. So I'm telling you, man, we're ready for it. All of us guys know we've been getting played by the medical system. We went through the opiate crisis. We saw the addictions that people were was caused by the medical profession. Not everybody, but just a portion, you know. It's always a few bad apples that ruin it for everybody. You know, and I lived it. I saw what the medical system did to our people down in South Florida. So most of us understand the big game of profits and money line and lowering cholesterol levels and high blood pressure to try to get you on board. You know, every one of my cop friends is on medication. It's crazy. I'm 55, zero, right? I keep trying to tell them, you can live this life. Just watch what you're putting in your mouth besides that little pill all the time.
Were you suffering at any point with chronic pain?
Yeah, I got diagnosed with Lyme disease. So one of the things I've always had was knee pain. And I always thought it was athletics, playing football, playing basketball, playing, you know, weekly softball and stuff like that, thinking I was some pro ball player or something, you know. So I just checked it off to that. But when I started, one of the things that happened to me was Dr. Ladia talked me into getting a calcium score test. Now, he didn't talk me into it. He helped me get it. And it came up, it was 4,100 back in 2024. And it had previously be 1,500 back in 2019. So I was kind of concerned, like, what's causing the calcium? You know, what else is going on with my body? And during that time, I tested for Lyme. Turns out I had heavy metal poisoning and also heavy mycotoxins from a lot of molds and stuff. So I started looking at my body. I had 6 mercury fillings in my mouth from 1982 or something like that, like Civil War dentistry, just leaking into my body all this time. So I went and had those removed. I had a little bit of a mercury poisoning, I think, afterwards. I had a really bad reaction through my whole body. So for the last year, I've been really battling a lot of the Lyme inflammation in certain parts of my body, trying to get my body back to where it was before I had the, the mercury taken out. But yeah, you just start peeling the layers back. You know, the weight was one, and then obviously the, the mental aspect, and then everything else just kind of showed itself. I don't see you, bro. Do you lose me? Oh, there you are. So yeah, so recently, last February, I got the CAC score done again, and it's 5,600. So what's going on, man? I keep going up.
Do you have an angiogram?
I just had the heart flow. They measured the with contrast, and what came back was, I guess my worst artery is only 30% blocked, so I'm still flowing at 70%. So to me, and you ask my wife, I'm flowing just fine with my testosterone near 800 at 55 years old with no medications. I'm telling you, bro, steak and eggs. That's all it's been, and vitamin D.
Do you take any supplements by any chance?
No,
Or it's just
the only thing I recently started dipping into was lumbrokinase, because I'm really starting to work at fibrosis. I have, you ever heard of Dupuytren's, that
Yeah.
Vikings disease? I got it pretty bad in one of my hands, and I've had several procedures before to try to get it. But
okay.
supposedly those earthworm enzymes eat away at it. So I'm going to do a hard protocol with that stuff. And earthworms are carnivore, so a lot better than the natto, which is made out of soybeans.
Make sure you always massage with the other hand that area.
I mean, like this,
No.
do it both, yeah.
Yeah, soften that area because those ligaments get very fibrotic, and of course end up having surgeries very often. But sometimes you can delay surgery by doing the massage constantly.
Yeah, that's the one thing that didn't get better on carnivore, was that the fibrosis. And I wonder if that's related to also my calcium score. And, it's always my left side. That's the same foot I got shot through. I've got cysts in there. So I don't know, there's something going on the left side of my body. I think I need one of those body scans. Hack Your Health in Tampa.
We will be there, by the way. So I guess they will have probably a company doing some body scans, some DEXA scans over there.
Yeah, they did in Austin last year. I had one done. So
me too. I did, but they basically were identical to my $20 scale that I have at home, with all the measurements. They were very similar. The technologies are different, and you don't expect the scale to be as accurate, but the numbers were so close that
right. Well,
they
you don't
are
get
a good substitute.
You don't get those cool colors on the chart though, on the scale.
And it is true, the DEXA is more accurate in measuring the fat, the muscle, all the different tissues. It is more accurate, but everybody cannot do one every 6 months or every year like
Right.
some people do. So,
well, that told me that from my collarbone, I broke my collarbone in my 20s, and also had a back surgery. So it's my whole left side. Looking at that DEXA scan, you can almost see my body's a little bit off by percentages, the muscle mass, and that's probably why sometimes I try to work a little more on the other side, strengthen it out, because I know it's a little bit weaker,
Brody makes a comment. I would love to get one of those scales. Where I bought it on Amazon. It's really, right now you can buy one for $25. There are different brands. They give you an estimate of your subcutaneous fat and visceral fat and all these nice measurements.
Yeah.
And for $25, it's fairly accurate. Numbers can be really off by 10-15%, really, when compared to a DEXA scan. But like I said, when I had my DEXA scan, the numbers were almost on point, each one, with what I had at home. And, you always have it with an app on your phone, and it keeps it for a long time. So they're fairly accurate. Look for a body composition scale, bathroom scale. There are smart scale also you can search for, and they're literally 20 to 30 bucks. The one I bought have been 20 bucks a couple of years ago. Now it costs maybe about 25. And there are multiple brands that you can get.
I heard you could try one out and return it and just keep a record screenshot for yourself and then come back 6 months later.
Yeah, you can do that with almost any product on Amazon, basically. So it doesn't cost you much to try it, but for 25 bucks, it is fairly accurate. Like I said, statistically, it can be off 10 to 15%. But when I did it with my numbers and my DEXA scan, numbers were almost identical. So
look at Papa Carnivore, 650 at 63. Nice. Poor Mama Carnivore. Maybe not. Maybe she liked it.
Mama Carnivore, it's always hiding.
That's funny. Yeah, my wife's the same way. She's always I'm always chasing her around. She's got more excuses than ever, but that's the way it goes when you're married, right?
Let's not get into that. We can get into trouble. All right. If you guys have any questions, just please put them in the chat.
So I recently gave blood because my ferritin was really high. That was another thing I wanted to bring up to you, because I had heard if a couple of people had said it helps to reset your body a little bit, and I don't know what you think of it, but I did it anyway. So I'm about to go another round of blood.
No. If your ferritin is high and if you've been evaluated, it's not a serious problem with hemochromatosis or something like that. Usually, it's the best situation. Just go and give blood.
Yeah.
I mean, you're gonna be helping someone, most likely, probably saving a life, and you got too much of it. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen with every carnivore, though, and sometimes you have to repeat it. Number one, because once in a while it could be high temporarily. Ferritin goes up as a marker of inflammation as well. So sometimes something may be going on. You have Lyme's disease, for example. I don't know what your other inflammatory markers are, but have you had any recent CRPs or set rates or homocysteine or anything else?
No, everything else is pretty straight, But I got, my cholesterol is 331. So, how that goes with mainstream. Oh, my God, you're going to die. I found my blood work as a rookie cop. It was like 270 then. So I'm like, I've always had high cholesterol. So I'm not worried about it.
What is your triglyceride level?
I think I'm like 78.
Okay, that's great.
My ratio is always under 1 for the most part. And then I'm usually about 5.3. HDL? What?
So HDL is?
Yeah, that's usually about 82 in the 80s usually.
Okay. Yeah, that is great. That is great. So, going back to the ferritin, people need to have an evaluation just to make sure it's nothing else. But if you just have a little bit too much ferritin, go and donate blood. Eric, how many years were you a police officer, and were you in the military prior?
All right, so I was at 19 years at Boynton Beach. I started in 2001 and retired on my 50th birthday. My mom did 30 years in Miami-Dade Police Department. That's a kind of a cool story. If you guys got Netflix, check out Griselda with Sofia Vergara as as Griselda Blanco, the cocaine hit woman, mafia boss. My mom's actually, her character's in the show who's battling Griselda. So that's why I was eating all that garbage food. My mom's too busy chasing down these cocaine drug dealers. So, but yeah, I was involved in her career too. I didn't do any patrol work, but trust me, I suffered. every one of those years, there was a little boy on the back end of that. So probably why I fell into police work. But I wasn't military. My dad was Air Force. My grandfather's all Army and all that stuff. I got military vaccinated, so I know I'm still all messed up from that. So let's not get started on those good old treatments they were doing to my little body when I was a little kid. So yeah, born in Key West, raised in Miami. So it's been a wild ride to be up in these different areas of the country now that we're traveling. You know, it's been a great experience.
All right. Brenda says Renfro Scale is great. That's one of the brands. I use one that's Fit Index, FIT, all one word index. But any of them is, like most phones nowadays, they all do the same thing. Some have more bells and whistles, but all smartphones are pretty good.
Yeah, I don't weigh myself much anymore. I'll do it like every month or two, depending on the weather. Sometimes I'll feel a little lighter than usual, depending on my fasting schedule or something like that. Or maybe I'm just feeling like I bulked up. I started dipping back into a little bit of, my wife's making homemade sourdough bread. So I started having a few slices of that with some ghee butter. And I got this onion garlic salt I sprinkle on top. So, I can handle it. I'm pretty active, and I'm actually looking at adjusting my diet a little bit, bringing in a little bit more carbohydrates, just not a lot, but just a little bit from avocados and some other things I think that help me out.
You mentioned fasting. What do you do as far as fasting?
Now, I'm not a hard charger like you guys, doing this 14, 15 days, whatever Kilt was doing, and with my lifestyle with kids, and I just can't be sitting back chilling and not worried about where I'm headed or driving or eating. And so the most I'll do is 24 to 36 hours tops.
Okay.
I know I could go further.
Do you do that on a regular basis?
Probably once a month right now.
Okay. Yeah. I think not everybody needs to do prolonged fasting, but adding on a regular schedule is very beneficial, and increases autophagy, mitophagy, increases several hormone levels. So it's good for the soul. If you want to say that. Dr. Kills did 15 days, and he had finished a couple of weeks ago now. And yesterday I finished 22 days.
Wow.
I broke my fast last night with a bone-in ribeye steak at a local restaurant.
Yeah.
With just fire and salt, and it was rare to medium rare. And I had the whole steak. I took it easy as far as eating slowly, just to make sure. But I had the whole thing. Didn't have any problems with it.
Wow. How was that first bite? Your body was in a shock?
No. It was as good as I remembered. My wife, we came to the hotel, we registered, and we had some time off. And she says, "Listen, you're fasting, but I'm not, so I gotta eat." And we went to a restaurant. I said, "Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and eat as well." And no, I had not been hungry at all for days.
Wow.
But in my mind, I'm thinking, I want to eat. So I went ahead and eat. So I think I'm going to plan for maybe trying to go 40 days next year, starting at the beginning of the year, probably, because you shouldn't really be doing prolonged fasting too long. And even though I did have some agenda of why I want to do some regular fasting, which I always do, but going beyond a couple of weeks, most people don't need to do that. My ketones were staying up in the 4s the whole week, 4.1, 4.9, was the highest. So Brenda says Dr. Nelson is the king of fasting. I don't know about that, but uh, along the way, I have found people who have done one. One of them is with us regularly here, and she does 40 days every year, once a year. And then I sat next to Dr. Lisa in the meetup we had in Montello, and she tells me, "Oh, I've done a 40-day fast." And yesterday here at the Champions for Health as well, found someone else who has done 40 days. So that will be next. I think if you're gonna do 40 days, you better work up yourself to that. You don't need to do it the first time. Again, I repeat, nobody needs to do 40 days fasting. If you can do it, that's fine. If you work yourself up to it, that I think that's fine. I wouldn't suffer to try to go through it. I had decided that the moment I didn't feel good, I was going to quit. And the truth is, the last couple of days, my energy level had been lower, but otherwise, I didn't feel any ill effects. But it felt pretty good having that ribeye steak. So
So
I'm ready. I'm ready again for today.
what'd you do with all that free time? Because a lot of my day is centered around meal prep or planning for my family, right? I got to make burgers later. I got to make steaks. I got to do this. I got to do that. So you got all this free time. What are you doing? You writing a book or what?
Well, I've been busy getting things ready for our classes. I'm teaching a certification course on keto carnivore coaching. So every week we're meeting. We met on Wednesday, and we've already done 5 weeks, I believe. So that keeps me busy. But yes, I had extra time when I am still thinking about food. It's just I wasn't going to cook it because I was even trying to stay away from the kitchen because I usually am the one who cooks for my wife whenever whatever she wants.
I don't know how you do
But
it, man. I
I
think
was
about
trying to
eating meat
avoid.
all day long. All day long, I think about eating meat.
I do too. And the funny thing is, just before I started the fast, I received a shipment of meats. I get about 25 pounds from Wild Pastures of mix of chicken and beef. And then I still have 4 picañas in the freezer, and they're large picañas. And this week I received a Wagyu beef shipment from a company, someone who had been 3C Jopa. They had been in the show with us for just a couple of weeks ago. So I have all that in the freezer at home. So when I get home this weekend, I'm gonna start. I already told my son to please take the Wagyu ribeye out because that's the thing I'm gonna taste as soon as I get home, basically.
Yeah, I'll be passing through there next week. When are you going home? No kidding.
uh,
Nice.
Yeah, it'll be Sunday. We're going home, and yeah, you're welcome. Find my house and get there.
I'll smell it.
Yeah,
No, that's good, man. Yeah, my family, I get asked a lot of questions about how we feed my kids, because they're pretty much ketovore kids. They eat up very limited vegetables, very limited. If they do, it's a little bit of potatoes, maybe some rice. My wife's Turkish, so there is a little bit of that culture in her that we've had to cut back on. But yeah, it's pretty much eggs, meat, a lot of berries, frozen berries and stuff, and raw milk. We find goat farmers, we find cows. We try to get as much of the, raw cheeses and all that stuff. And it's not easy. I mean, like I said, most of my day is trying to find food for my little mongrels, and I don't see how. I wish they would fast for 40 days. That would save me a mortgage payment. Okay.
No,
I'm just kidding.
no, I know exactly what you mean because I had 3 of them go through. All 3 of mine had their growth spurts between 10 and 12
Yep.
rather than later in adolescent years. They were all fairly early compared to the rest of the kids in class. And they would be eating nonstop. I mean, to the point that I'm pretty sure every parent here identifies with that because they go through that period where nothing satisfies their hunger, right? And they're constantly eating. My father-in-law, who lives close to me, once told me, "Listen, Nelson, if you ever, something happens to you and you're not here, be assured I'm going to take care of your kids." Okay, because he lived close, and uh, my father-in-law was a very good man. Anyways, but my only condition is your dad, talking about my dad who lived in Puerto Rico, he has to pay for the grocery
Wow.
because they were ravenous during a few years. Anyways, but most kids are metabolically healthy, and I think they can get back when they're not, if they are dealing with obesity and it's just because of the way they eat. If they get back to eating the right way, they're very quickly back there because I've seen it.
Yeah.
And kids, especially if you're not feeding them the crap that, I'm sorry, your mom fed you and I fed my kids as well, the cereals and all the ultra processed foods and those things that are not real food, they're fake food, they're just garbage. And that's 90% of what you see in the supermarket. Nothing that comes in a box, a bag, or a can really you should be eating. They tolerate even having some fruit and some vegetables and having some variety. And if you raise them eating whole foods, they are not going to be poisoned as much as when you're constantly having cereal for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, because sometimes wasn't that what happened with you? Sometimes there wasn't maybe dinner and you would have cereal with milk
Yeah, I would dip my Pop-Tarts in it.
or your Pop Tart, yes.
In the cereal.
So yeah, kids are more metabolically flexible, and having some fruits from time to time and some vegetables from time to time, as long as you're avoiding the sugars and all the processed foods and nothing with vegetable seed oils, all these things, none of those things are natural. The sugar might be the most natural thing, but it's still processed
Right.
grains and beets and whatever. But they are able to tolerate better. And then you just feed them the rest, meat and eggs and
We had
cheese,
a
like you mentioned.
we had a situation with my youngest back in 2023. He was really, we thought he had Marfan syndrome or some crazy genetic disease because of what was going on with his body. And turns out he had a Lyme diagnosis that helped us kind of get straight what was going on with his body and the inflammation and some of the way his body was contorted. So
what was the diagnosis?
It was Lyme disease. He had it. At
Okay.
seven. So it was way past antibiotics because he never got bit by a tick. And we always thought it was more to it than just a little tick bouncing around the woods biting you. So we ended up, with his dad being keto 5.0, what a great, non-inflammatory father to have, right? We don't have any of that crap in the house. He's got sensitivity to eggs, certain types of eggs. Like if you feed an egg, chicken, like soy and all this crap feed, he has a reaction to those eggs. But if it's more of a wild, they're just in our buddy's farm, eating what they eat, bugs and scraps, he doesn't have a reaction. So we had to take a deeper dive in even the food of what our food was eating, You know, what is the cow eating? What's the pig eating? What's the chicken eating? You know, because it had a direct effect on him and his body, you know, on a little level, you know, just a little bit. He is sensitive to it. And it makes you think how toxic our bodies are and how resilient they are to bounce back after a whole lifetime of just poisoning yourselves with some of this, you know, forever chemicals, you know.
So Dr. Kills did 15 days, 15, 1-5. I took, no, he didn't do 40. He did 15 days, and I did 22.
And you were thinking about 40. Maybe that's what they were talking about.
I was thinking about 40, and I decided I will do 40. The next time, I'm going to wait 5-6 months before doing it again. May not be the healthiest thing to do continuous, very frequent, prolonged fasting, but I'm not the first one in history. There are many people who have done 40 days. Obviously, it's documented in the Bible. So it's something that people are able to do. But I think if you're going to do it, you don't feel forced to do it. But if you're going to do it, then you work yourself up to. I had done 10 days in April. Now I did 22. Next time, maybe I'll go for 40. Or I'm not going to suffer through it. I'm not gonna be a martyr either.
Right.
If I don't feel good for whatever reason, just eat.
So how you've been feeling, man? You feeling good nowadays?
Feeling good? Yes.
Awesome. I can't tell people enough the way you end up feeling, you know, if you stick to it consistently, you know. You have a lot more good days than bad.
So this I didn't know. Mitch was here last year, but didn't come this year to this conference. Actually, that's the first time I actually met him at this conference last year. So he's celebrating his 3-year carniversary. I'll try to be there, but there are conferences here, and then we're going out to eat most likely. So, the scales and addiction. Well, you don't have to. I kept track every day of my weight during the fasting because I was curious. But you don't have to. You don't have to track anything. Sometimes any tracking does become an obsession more than an addiction. And to do carnivore, you don't need to do real tracking. Some people do for specific reasons. Just eat fatty meat until you're satisfied and stop. And don't eat again until you're really, really hungry again. It couldn't be simpler, right, Eric?
Yeah, I know. I was thinking about now. I got a steak marinating at home. I'm already thinking about it. All this talk about food. Sorry, you fasters out there.
What is your favorite way of cooking? I mean, if you live in a camper or an RV, are you doing a lot of grilling outside or?
Yeah, we do a lot of grilling. We can't do too many briskets or anything like that. You know, we can't, have that much oven time going on. So lots of grilling. We do use like a lot of roast and slow cook them and stuff like that, but I do the poor man's roast all the time. I just, I take that chuck roast, I'll slice it up into strips and marinate it and beat it down a little bit. And then I'll throw it on the grill and grill it up in the steak slices, I'm not very hard, I'm not picky at all, and I don't know. Dr. Kills was talking about eating raw. This last little talk I had with Cops and Campers. So I'm like, eating raw now, huh?
Have you ever had anything raw?
I've had some burger, there's a little salt on it, when I was in the kitchen business before I was a cop flipping burgers, but I never just sat down and ate, a steak raw. I haven't done that yet. Okay. I guess that was a tartar or something you could have at some of these shops or some of these places. So.
You pay a lot of money for raw beef. If you go to a restaurant and ask for it,
Yeah, the
they'll
air fryer and the pot are huge. We use that a lot. And then, when you're only eating twice a day, it's not really like we're having to worry about cooking as much. I cook one day for the next 3 days. So we cook like 38 burgers or something, 6 pounds of burgers, a couple of steaks, and throw in some salmon. And man, it's even the chicken's weak nowadays, man. I don't trust the chicken. The chicken just looks weak, so I don't even spend the money on it nowadays.
Well, one thing I have noticed past few years at the Sam's Club and Walmart, the chicken now has a label that says, "Oh, vegetarian fed." What does that mean?
You're eating a vegan chicken.
Chicken is anything that you put in front of them. But
Right.
the species appropriate diet is to be out and about, and they will eat grass and the insects and everything that's on the ground. When you don't feed it, basically feed them corn, soy, wheat. They are very nutritious. Their eggs, Dr. Kills doesn't like the chicken much because it doesn't have enough fat.
Right.
You can add the fat. You can either do fat trimmings with it or butter.
Bacon and
But
eggs, so.
yeah, but they're selling that with a vegetable fed chicken like it's something positive when I think it's actually a drawback.
Yeah, like no gluten in your meat. Yeah, there shouldn't be gluten in my meat. Come on, that's scam. No poison in your meat. Well, thanks, man. So, yeah, I feel bad for chicken. It's a wasted time. And all this hormones and the stuff they're doing, it just seems like they're making weaker feed out of it and weaker people out of it. So, I need 8 bugs. That guy. What's that guy name? Is he talking about lime? Can make over didn't eat any. The vegetarian. Oh yeah, there's probably bugs in the vegetarian feed. Let's see what he's saying. Oh yeah, they will eat another chicken. I've seen it. Hey, I was taking.
They'll eat you. They'll eat you if they have a chance.
I was taking care of some pigs on a farm, and they had to keep checking on me like every 20 minutes to make sure like I didn't pass out or something because it wouldn't be pretty. Fat-free apple. That's
Where do you normally get burger meat?
Right now, we've been ordering from White Oaks. Use my code. No, I'm just kidding. White Oaks is where we usually get it from because we trust it right now and we're close by. But usually if we're like up in Michigan, New York, we found farmers up there that we trust their practices.
So do you buy the beef and then craft the patties at home, or?
Yeah, we make it dinner. Everyone got to make their patties. And you could tell who's more enthusiastic by the shape of the patties by the time they make it to me. My sons are like they're like meatballs, but so I give them meatballs.
Well, that's how you start.
We come to Florida. Yeah.
Burger.
Yeah, we go to Florida every January, February. I'll be down November for Hack Your Health, and we're going down next week. I'm actually big. You like baseball, right, Dr. Nelson? I'm getting honored at the Marlins game Tuesday, August 26th on Heroes Night. They invited old Keto 5-0 to come out, and they're going to give me a little salute on the stadium, jumbo screen and a little salute. So I'll be there with a couple of my cop buddies and trying to just bring awareness to, some of the good things we're doing out there. So that's another good thing we're coming home for.
I'm going to be back home. Let me see. I'll be flying back on the 24th from Ohio.
Yeah, they're playing the Braves, so it should be a decent little game. We'll see what happens. But anyways, that's a good cause. You know, I joined up with these guys on a podcast called Undercover Dumpster Fire, and they're both actors, but they used to be, one was a fireman, one was an undercover cop. So it's a pretty interesting show. You bring a little bit of these Hollywood guys into the profession that, you know, they have knowledge, and getting together with those guys too in Florida. So yeah, we got some good things coming.
Question. I breakfast early in the morning with fat and red meat. Most days I do not eat again until the next morning. These days red meat is beef. Do you eat any other red meat, any other ruminant? You eat lamb, goat, venison?
When it's available and based on the price too, you know, obviously when we order bulk from White Oaks, I mean, you know, the ground beef's such a decent price. And if you can get it cut with some, you know, liver or organ meat, I sound like a drug dealer. You got to cut it with some organ meat in there, you know, but it's really freaking good, man. And, you know, if I could, I would eat lamb and I would eat more of the other foods, but, you know, until we start homesteading, we get our own property and I can start hunting some of this, you know, some of this animals. We just stick with beef now and salmon, and I do pork as, you know, when I can. My wife doesn't do the pork, so it's tough to bring it into the house when your wife is Turkish descent and not big fans of the pig. Oh, she married a cop though. I don't know.
So I do have at home some ground beef mixed with organs. I'm looking forward to eat that. We'll see. But sheep and goat is cheaper than beef.
Yeah, the goat's just it's a bit rough for me still, the goat.
I grew up eating goat. Usually stew was how it was made. Also, my mom used to cook chicken gizzards.
Yeah, beef is a good value, but now I'll mix pork in there. I'll make bacon burgers and stuff like that. You know, I try to spice it up, you know, but yeah, it does get a little bit monotonous at times with the ground beef. I'm not going to lie. We try to make a meatloaf. We try to throw some cream cheese in it. We try and decorate it, make it look all pretty. And my kids are still like, hey, man, can we get a steak or a ribeye now and then? I'm like, it's like $25 a ribeye, kid.
So, Larry, where are you located? That you are selling goats. I have some land in Puerto Rico. Maybe I should get some goats. The goats can be raised anywhere, and most of the land I have is mountainous.
Oh, yeah, they'll like that. Goats are cool. My buddy's got some goats over here. We go take care of him when he's out of town. Gives my kids some chores and stuff like that. And well, little personalities. I'm telling you, I love farm animals. They're really cool. You know, they just kind of break the monotony and they don't talk back to you like people do. You know, so farm animals are awesome.
All right. So Rick is a farmer. He's a duck and iguana farmer. Rick, Charger Moorpark. All righty. So we've come to the top of the hour. Thank you for being here. Where can we find you, Eric?
At Keto 50 and also at Cops and Campers. Check out our documentary that we did. It's on YouTube. And, you know, just support us when you see us out there. And, you know, all your first responders out there, remember how hard we're working out there to protect you guys. So.
All righty. So today's Friday. We'll be back with you on Monday. I don't know. Dr. Kill sometimes does Sundays, but that's really not even on schedule. It's whenever he wants. And depending on his travels, he doesn't have time to do it. Maybe he does. So he'll do it. Otherwise, we'll be here on Monday morning at 6 a.m., like every Monday through Friday. And we'll see you. Have a nice weekend. Thank you, Eric, for being here.
All right, man.